Today I'm going to teach you step by step how to make this super cute DIY fall pumpkin 4-foot door swag. It is a showstopper. Don't worry, if you're new to wreath making, it's great for beginners. You'll find a full materials list for you below in the description of this video so that if you'd like to recreate this beauty, you can sure do so. Welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. Hey guys, it's Nikki here at Stillwater's Wreath Designs, and today we are going to make an extra large, extra bougie, oh so cute fall pumpkin door swag. I'd like to thank TMI Gifts for collabing with me on this door swag. You guys, if you are new to the channel, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Stillwater's Wreath Designs is all about step-by-step DIY wreath and door swag tutorials. So if you like that sort of thing, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and join us. And if you enjoyed today's tutorial, be sure to hit that like button. I'll leave a full materials and supplies list for you below in the description of this video. You can also take a screenshot so that you've got all of the product codes that you need for the goodies that are used in today's tutorial. When you go to TMI Gifts, that's www.tmigifts.com. Once you are finished shopping online, be sure to enter the code NIKI20, NIKI20, and you'll get 20% off your entire order. Okay guys, let's dive in. You guys, we are going to build today's door swag on a 48-inch long pine swag base. So this is going to be a big, bougie design. Where is everyone watching from today? Say hey when you hop on. Let's talk about our pine swag base for just a minute if you're new to working with pine swag bases. They basically look like an upside down Christmas tree. You're going to find a nice hook on the top of this. Let me tell you what I love about this swag. Good job, TMI Gifts. It's a solid metal hook to hang on your door. Most times when you buy swags, it's just a pine tie that's been turned over, but this is actually metal, so kudos to TMI Gifts for that. You have a metal, what I call a spine, running down the center of your swag, and then you have all of these pine ties throughout your swag base. You're going to want to keep that backside flat. That's what's going to be resting against your door. And what I'm doing now is just fluffing up this swag base, kind of like you do your Christmas tree. I'm just waking up those branches, making sure there's basically an equal number of branches on either side and in the center, and giving it a good fluff. Not looking for perfection here, guys. We're going to be stuffing this beauty full of all kinds of goodness. All right, now that we've got our swag base fluffed down, I'm going to set this guy off to the side. The next thing we need to do is to prep our deco mesh. We are going to be using this super cute orange with black metallic border stripe 10-inch deco mesh for our swag today. I've got 2 rolls here. I'm not sure if we'll be needing 1 or 2, but let's go ahead and get this cut. How stinking cute is that, you guys? Oh my goodness. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. You're welcome to measure this and cut your pieces if that's easier for you. I cut my pieces between 20 and 24 inches for the swag base, but for time purposes, I don't really measure. I just lay my roll in front of me. I pull the mesh straight up so that my arm's basically at a 90-degree angle, and I cut. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes and cut this entire roll, and then I'll grab our swag and we'll start to load in our mesh. All right, I've got my entire roll of deco mesh cut and ready to go. You guys, go ahead and keep that cardboard insert that was in the middle of your deco mesh, and I'm going to show you a little trick once we get further along in our design. So it's time to load this with deco mesh cruffles. If you are new to working with deco mesh, guys, deco mesh loves to fray. So anything that we can do as designers to help reduce that fray is always ideal. And so we're going to make cruffles. Let me show you how that's done. You're just going to take 1 piece of deco mesh, lay that in your work area, curl side up, and you're going to let each end curl in on itself a couple, 2 or 3 times. Just like that. And what that does is tuck away the raw edge of your cut deco mesh to reduce that fray. Once you've got those ends curled, then you're just going to pinch and gather that mesh in the middle until your hands meet. And we've just made a cruffle. And really what a cruffle is, guys, is 2 curls on the end, a ruffle in the middle, hence the cruffle. You're going to keep that pinched between your fingers. And I like to start at the top of my pine swag base on the left-hand side. And what we're going to do is layer cruffles in throughout the entire swag base. So we're going to start at the top. We're going to find 2 neighboring pine ties. We're going to take our cruffle and place it all the way down to the base of those 2 pine ties. And then you're going to give those ties, pine ties, a couple of tight twists to secure that cruffle in. Just like that. Let's do one more together and then we'll speed ahead. Grab a piece of deco mesh, lay that in your work area, curl side up. Let each end roll in on itself a couple of times to tuck away that raw edge. And then just gather that mesh in the middle and give it a pinch. We're going to come back into our pine base and come right below the last cruffle. We're going to find 2 neighboring ties. We'll place our cruffle all the way down to the base and give those pine ties a couple of tight twists. And we've just added our second cruffle into our pine base. We're going to repeat the same process all the way down to the very point of our swag base and then come all the way back up on the right hand side. You may run out of deco mesh, just go ahead and cut another roll. It depends on how closely you put them together, and then I'll meet you back here.
I ended up using 1.5 rolls of the 10-inch deco mesh for our swag base. I also added a couple of cruffles in the center of the top because this base is so wide. Don't forget, guys, you can get all the supplies that you see in today's design at tmigifts.com. Don't forget to use code Nikki20 for 20% off your order.
All right, guys, I ended up using about 1.5 rolls of that 10-inch deco mesh, and look how full this beauty is already. Okay, guys, if you've not already done so, go ahead and plug in your hot glue gun, and we'll let that preheat while we work on our bow. So I've got 2 2.5-inch wired ribbons, a 1-inch wired ribbon, and a 5/8. You guys, how stinking cute is this combination? So this is actually a glittery orange. Hopefully that camera is picking that up for you. The super cute black and white Halloween cat. And those cats, guys, are actually like a velveteen. And so is this sidewalker fence that they're standing on. There's cute little bats. Isn't that adorable? I've got a 2.5-inch with the velvet polka dots. And this is just a solid black glitter. We're going to place our bow near the top of our swag. So I'm going to start with the bottom-most ribbon, which will be the black and white Swiss polka dot. You're just going to need a good pair of scissors and a standard pipe cleaner that is matching in color scheme with your bow. I'm just folding that into a loose V so that it's ready for me to use when it's time, and I'll set that off to the side. So a quick rule of thumb, guys, whenever you make your bows, make sure you always use a wired ribbon because it's going to maintain its shape for you nicely. And always make your tails a little bit longer than what you think you'll need. The rule of thumb is you can always trim ribbon away, but you can't add more. You can use your self-healing mat to measure, or you can use a standard ruler. I'm going to start out with a 12-inch tail. And I'm going to pinch that ribbon. My left hand will be my holding hand and my right hand my working hand. And we'll be making 2 loops and 2 tails of each of the 4 ribbon types. Then I'm going to give that a hard twist because we always want it to be pretty side out. And I want a 6-inch loop, so I'm just going to measure my ribbon out to that 12-inch mark. I'm going to pinch that ribbon and bring it back underneath my thumb. Give it another hard twist. Measure out 12 more inches. Guys, not looking for perfection. No one's going to be measuring your loops and tails. And bring that back to my hand. I'll double check that my loops are nearly the same height, and they are. And this time I'm going to cut a 24-inch tail, so I've just measured that twice down my ruler, and we'll cut that off. So there's our first ribbon type. Let's move on to the super cute cat ribbon. Same thing, we're going to start out with a 12-inch tail, so I'm measuring that on my ruler, pinching at that 12-inch mark, placing that underneath my thumb. I'm going to give that ribbon a hard twist, and I want 6-inch loops again. So I'm going to come out to that 12-inch mark, a little bit farther because I'm coming past that cat. I'm giving that a pinch underneath my thumb, hard twist, always want that pretty side out. And we're going to measure 12 inches again to give us that 6-inch loop. And I'm folding it underneath my hand. We'll marry those loops to make sure they meet the same spot, and they did. And again, I want a 24-inch tail, so I'm going to come out to the 24-inch mark. And again, we'll cut that guy off. Set that ribbon aside. We're going to move on to our 1.5-inch orange ribbon. This time we're going to do a 10-inch tail. I've given that a pinch. I'm placing that underneath my thumb, giving that a hard twist. Now we're going to do a 10-inch piece again because we want a 5-inch loop. I've pinched it, it's underneath my thumb. We'll give that a hard twist. We're going to make our second loop. So we'll come out to that 10-inch spot, give it a pinch, and fold it under. We'll make sure our loops are the same size, and they are. We're going to measure a 24-inch tail again, just approximate, guys. No one's going to be measuring. We'll cut that away. And last but not least, our 5/8-inch black glitter. And for this one, guys, I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to put it in my hand. I'm going to give myself a shorter tail. I'm putting that underneath my thumb. I'm just going to make, maybe 4 loops or so. I'll marry them up to make sure they are the same height than they are. And I'm just going to cut a long tail. So I'm going to keep that tight in my left hand. I'm grabbing my pipe cleaner. I'm placing that around my ribbon stack here. I'm going to come around to that back side and twist that as tight as I can so it's tight, tight, tight. And give it 3 or 4 super tight twists. I'm going to come through here and angle trim my ends. You can dovetail if you wish as well. All I'm going to do, guys, is come down about 1 inch on the right hand side of my ribbon, cut up diagonally to the corner, and that's going to give us that pretty angle trim. I'm going to do this to every single ribbon tail. So now we're going to take the longer tails. Remember, we've got 1 longer and 1 shorter of every ribbon type. I'm going to pull the longer tails down. We're not going to worry about fluffing our bow yet. And then those shorter tails, we're going to go up. Trust the process here, guys. It looks a little rough right now, but it's going to come together so stinking cute. Perfect. All right, guys, I've trimmed away those leftover bits of pipe cleaner. I'm keeping those bows pretty flat. And I'm going to find 2 neighboring pine ties in the upper left-hand area of the top. I'm going to make a false bottom. So I'm just twisting them together, leaving about 3 inches or so on either side. of those pine ties. And I'm doing that because we don't want our bow to recede too deeply into our swag. I'm separating my tails. I'm placing that bow stack right on top of that false bottom. And now I'm going to twist those pine ties 2 or 3 times tightly and then curl them back under. We're going to make sure that those shorter ribbon tails are pointing upwards. Trust the process, guys. It's not going to be pretty here for a minute. And then we're going to keep our bow at an angle. We'll fluff it last. We're going to take our 2 tails. We're going to lay one on top of the other. We're going to come down about 2/3 of the way. We're going to give that a pinch. We're going to find 2 neighboring pine ties. Give them a false bottom and anchor those ribbon tails right down into that false bottom. We're going to give those pine ties a couple of tight twists and curl them under. And what we've created is this cute ribbon bump that's just going to really give it some really nice movement. Let's do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take a picture of this hanging on the door in a moment, guys. I know it's hard to see because it's such a large piece, but I just wanted to zoom in for a few moments before we go back to that broader view so you could see how we're anchoring these in. So layering the black ribbon on top of the polka dot, coming down 2/3 of the way, pinching that ribbon together. I'm going to find 2 neighboring pine ties, give them a false bottom by twisting them together a couple of inches down. I'm going to place that ribbon stack, those ribbon tails right on top of that false bottom, and I'm going to give those ties 2 or 3 tight twists and curl them under. So we've just created our second flowing ribbon. Let me take a picture of this hanging on the door so you can see what kind of effect it's already giving. Okay guys, I've got it hanging on a door right now. First of all, look how long and stunning this is going to be. But you can see we've got our bow anchored down in that upper left-hand corner. We've got those shorter tails just sticking up whimsically off the top. We've anchored down our longer tails to the left and to the right. And look at that beautiful flow. Okay, let's move on to the next step. All right, guys, I've changed the angle again because I want to show you something really quickly. And I apologize for the different angles that we're having to video this tutorial, but it's just such a big piece. I want to make sure I'm capturing everything. So the next thing we're going to do is add these 2 foam pumpkins into our swag. And so these guys are probably about 7 to 8 inches in height. And I want to add them whimsically into our piece. So kind of catty corner like so. All right, guys, I've got my pumpkins here and I'm going to show you a little tip. This is actually a leftover stem from a floral bush, and I like to keep a couple of these handy because they're really great for making your own wreath attachments. So all I'm going to do is trim off 2 of the longer pieces because our swag is pretty deep. These are just some heavy duty work pro cutters. Reminder, guys, I will leave links for all the tools that you see me using today, as well as all the materials from TMI Gifts for you below in the description of this video so that you can recreate this beauty if you'd like to do so. We're going to lay our pumpkins basically like this on our swag. So with that being said, I want to be able to anchor these down pretty good into the swag base. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to poke this piece right down into our foam pumpkin. Just like that. Then I'm going to take my hot glue gun. So I've poked that in a couple of inches, and I'm going to add a couple of generous squirts of glue right where that piece meets our pumpkin. I've added 2 or 3 generous dollops of glue right where that stem meets our pumpkin. And I'm going to set it off to the side to dry for just a minute. And we're going to do the same thing to the black pumpkin. So I'm poking that stem right down into the pumpkin, a couple of inches or so. I'm going to add 2 or 3 generous dollops of hot glue right where that meets the pumpkin. And we're going to set it off to the side to dry for about 3 minutes. Okay guys, I think I've got a good angle so that you can continue to see what we have going on here. So our pumpkins are nice and dry now, and it's time to add them in. So I'm going to flip my pumpkin over to the back side where our attachment is, and I'm just going to put several full squeezes of hot glue on our pumpkin and on that stem. Be careful not to get burnt. I'm going to come into our swag and anchor that right down in. So I'm going to place mine at an angle, as I mentioned earlier, and I want them to be nice and nestled. So I'm going to hold on to this pumpkin for about 30 seconds to give it time to really grab. Okay, I think that's nice and secure. So now we'll do the same thing to our black pumpkin. Several full squirts of glue, some additional glue right there on that stem that we added, and we'll nestle that guy right down in. And give it a good 30-second hold. Let's take a couple of minutes and add in some of our embellishments. We've got these super cute black and white frosted beaded picks. They're probably 18 inches in length. Let's see where we want to place them, and then we'll hot glue them in. I ended up adding 3 of those black picks, one right above our bow on the upper left, one between the pumpkins on the far right, and then one in the bottom left corner of the swag. Super cute. I decided once I added those in that I was also going to add some ribbon tails to the very bottom of the swag. So I have 24-inch strips of each of the ribbon types right at the underneath side of the black and white pumpkin. Then I used that cardboard tube insert that I asked you to keep earlier to curl those ribbon tails. Just wrap them right around that tube and release. You can curl it as many times as you need until you're happy. Okay guys, now I'm just trimming off those cute little pumpkin picks so that I can use them individually to sprinkle throughout the swag. I've left about 3 inches of that stem so that I can really anchor them down nicely into our swag. I'm just going to sprinkle them throughout. And remember, you can bend that stem so that you can have it at any angle that you wish. Once I'm happy with that placement, I'm just running a bead of glue down that stem and a little bit on the back of the foam pumpkins and nestling them down into the swag. I decided to hang the swag on the door to determine the best fit for those last couple of pumpkins. All right, guys, we're on to the last step. I cannot believe how beautiful this is turning out. Oh my goodness. So the last step, we're going to add some greenery into our swag just to give it some freshness for the fall. So I've got 2 bushes here. We'll see how much we use. Of course, these are also from TMI Gifts. And there are 7 stems on this bush. This is a really heavy-duty plastic. So we're going to trim off each of our stems with our heavy-duty cutters and just drop them into a pile. These stems are pretty long, probably 10 to 12 inches, so I'm going to find a good spot in the middle to cut these guys in half so that we really get the most bang for our buck. So when I cut it in half, that leaves us with these, and I think that's perfect for our swag. Okay guys, now that I've got those all trimmed down, I'm going to dry place them all throughout the swag, and then I'll come back through and glue them. So I'm just going to sprinkle these all throughout our swag, making sure you cover the top and both of the sides. So let's take a few minutes to get these dry placed, and then we'll come back with some hot glue. When we glue these in, guys, we're just going to put about an inch or so bit of glue right there at the base and nestle it down into our swag.
Okay, all of my greenery pieces are added into the swag and it's absolutely stunning, you guys. I'm just going to come back through and hot glue all of these beauties in. You can get all the materials that you see in today's design at tmigifts.com. Be sure to enter code Nikki20 for 20% off your order. And this beauty is finished. I sure hope you enjoyed creating with me today. If you did, be sure to give this tutorial a thumbs up. Thank you to TMI Gifts for the collab. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and join us. Thanks, friends. Happy crafting.